There comes a time in life when you look around and realize it's just you. No hand to hold, no voice to encourage, no one to lift you when the weight feels unbearable. It's a moment that tests your soul, a moment that separates dreamers from doers. See, anyone can move forward when surrounded by support. But those who rise when no one stands beside them, those are the ones destined for greatness. Because getting ahead when you're alone isn't just about strength, it's about transformation. Self-reliance builds strength, not just in the body, but in the mind and the spirit. It is the foundation upon which greatness is built. When you stop depending on others to move you, to validate you, to save you, something powerful happens. You begin to discover the depth of what you are truly capable of. Life has a way of testing every person, and those tests often come when help is nowhere to be found. It's in those moments when the world seems to turn its back that self-reliance starts to take shape. You learn that your strength was never supposed to come from the outside, it was meant to be discovered within. Most people wait for permission to act, for someone to open a door, for someone to believe in them first. But self-reliance is different. It says, I will build my own door if I have to. It means taking full ownership of your circumstances, even when life doesn't play fair. It means trusting your own judgment when others doubt your path. It means carrying yourself with a sense of dignity and control, no matter how heavy the burden becomes. When you rely on yourself, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect person to appear. You realize that the power to change your life was never locked away in someone else's hands. You hold the keys. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to prove your own ability. Every setback becomes a test of your endurance. Every lonely night becomes a classroom for wisdom. Self-reliance doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean you reject people or refuse help out of pride. It means you stop making others responsible for your destiny. It's about knowing that if all else fails, you will still rise. If everyone leaves, you will still stand. That kind of confidence doesn't come overnight. It comes through the storms, through failure, through disappointment, through moments of silence where the only voice you hear is your own. The beauty of self-reliance is that it builds character in layers. At first, it feels like survival, doing what you must to stay afloat. But over time, it turns into mastery. You begin to trust your instincts, your decisions, your pace. You no longer chase validation because your own effort becomes your proof. You no longer seek sympathy because your purpose becomes your strength. You develop the quiet confidence of someone who knows how to rebuild from ashes, who knows how to walk forward without applause, who knows how to keep faith when there's no one left to encourage them. Self-reliance teaches discipline. It teaches you that consistency is not a matter of motivation, but of responsibility. You show up because you must, not because you feel like it. You push yourself, not for recognition, but because quitting is no longer an option. The more you depend on your own willpower, the more unshakable you become. No disappointment can break you, no rejection can define you, no failure can stop you. And the moment you stop relying on others to carry your load, your spirit begins to expand. You start to move differently, with focus, with direction, with purpose. You stop chasing comfort and begin chasing growth. You stop needing people to see your potential and start proving it through your actions. You become the kind of person who others begin to depend on because you've learned how to depend on yourself first. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has walked through the valley of self-reliance. They have faced days when no one believed, when no one helped, when no one showed up. But instead of breaking, they built. Instead of begging, they became. That's the quiet truth of strength. It's not born in comfort, it's born in responsibility. When you begin to trust yourself fully, when you begin to take charge of your life completely, you realize that self-reliance is not loneliness, it's liberation. It frees you from the fear of losing anyone or anything, because you finally understand that everything you need to rise has always been within you. Isolation is preparation, not punishment, not rejection, but refinement. When life pulls you away from the noise, when the crowd disappears, and when the applause fades, it's not always because you've done something wrong. Sometimes it's because you're being shaped for something greater than what you can currently see. The quiet seasons, the lonely nights, the moments when you feel unseen or forgotten, those are the moments when your spirit is being sharpened. Your mind is being strengthened and your purpose is being defined. Many people fear isolation because they mistake it for abandonment. But isolation is the hidden workshop of destiny. It's where the most powerful transformation happens, far from the eyes of others. Think about it. No seed grows in the open. Every seed must first go underground, into the dark, into the soil, where it is broken before it can ever sprout. The same is true for you. When life buries you in silence, it's not the end. It's the beginning of something new being formed inside you. Isolation forces you to listen, not to the world, but to your inner voice. It strips away the distractions and demands that you confront your own thoughts, fears, and truths. It's in isolation that you learn who you really are when no one's watching. You learn what truly matters, what truly drives you, and what truly needs to be released. It's where you find clarity, because there's no longer anyone else's noise drowning out your intuition. When you're surrounded by people all the time, you can lose yourself in their opinions, their expectations, their judgments. You start to shape your identity around how they see you, instead of how you were meant to be. But in isolation, there's no performance left. There's just you, raw, unfiltered, and honest. That's when growth begins. That's when strength builds quietly like a flame protected from the wind. Isolation also builds endurance, because when you learn to stand alone, you stop depending on external validation to keep you moving. You stop waiting for encouragement. You stop craving attention. You begin to move on discipline, not emotion. The silence teaches you to be your own motivator, your own coach, your own reminder that purpose doesn't need an audience. Every great warrior, every visionary, every leader has had a season of solitude. Not because they wanted it, but because it was necessary. It's during isolation that your faith is tested. When there's no one cheering for you, do you still believe in your vision? When progress feels invisible, do you still trust the process? When doors close, do you still keep knocking? Those questions define who you are, because isolation doesn't just reveal your strength. It refines your character. It shows you whether your desire to succeed is built on passion or pride, whether your dream is sustained by purpose or ego. And the beautiful thing about isolation is that it builds quiet confidence. When you've learned how to survive in silence, you no longer fear being overlooked. You no longer feel threatened by competition or comparison. You realize that real power doesn't need to be seen, it just needs to be ready. Isolation makes you ready. It trains your focus, your patience, your resilience. It teaches you how to work while the world sleeps, how to keep faith while nothing moves, how to hold your ground when you feel forgotten. When the time comes for your breakthrough, you'll realize that everything you learned in isolation was never wasted. The discipline, the patience, the mental strength, they were all forged in the quiet hours when no one noticed your effort. That's what isolation does. It equips you to handle what's coming next. It builds the foundation so solid that when the spotlight finally hits you, you can carry the weight that comes with it. So when life places you in a season of isolation, don't rush to escape it. Don't fight to fill the silence. Sit in it. Learn from it. Because it's not punishment, it's preparation. It's where you're being trained for the level you've been praying for. The same silence that feels heavy today is the same silence that will become the strength you'll rely on tomorrow. Isolation builds warriors, thinkers, creators, and leaders, not through comfort, but through refinement, through focus, through stillness, through the sacred work of becoming everything you were meant to be when no one is watching. Discipline becomes your best friend when motivation fades, when the crowd stops cheering, and when the excitement that once fueled you begins to run dry. It's easy to be consistent when everything feels right, when people are clapping, when the reward feels close, when energy is high. But true discipline shows up when the feeling is gone. It's that quiet, unseen force that gets you out of bed when your mind tells you to stay down. It's the voice that says, keep going, even when no one's watching, even when no one cares, even when you're tired of giving your all and seeing little in return. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not something you post about or brag about. It's the grind behind the scenes, the repetition, the sacrifice, the structure that separates those who talk about success from those who actually build it. Discipline doesn't beg for attention, it demands results. It's the invisible friend that walks with you every single day, holding you accountable, pushing you when you want to stop, reminding you that consistency will always outlast intensity. At first, discipline feels like restriction. It feels like you're saying no to everything you want. No to comfort, no to distraction, no to laziness, no to shortcuts. But over time, it transforms. You begin to realize that those small daily choices are what give you power. The very things you thought were holding you back are actually shaping your freedom. Discipline doesn't take away your choices, it refines them. It gives you clarity in a world that constantly pulls your attention in every direction. When discipline becomes your best friend, your emotions no longer control your life. You stop being a slave to moods or feelings. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or the right motivation. You learn that progress doesn't care about how you feel. It only responds to what you do. Every time you show up when it's inconvenient, you build another layer of strength. Every time you stay focused when distractions call, you prove to yourself that you are in control. Discipline gives you a sense of stability, a foundation that can't be shaken by external chaos. It's also a mirror. It shows you who you really are. It exposes your weaknesses, your habits, your excuses. But instead of condemning you, it challenges you to grow. Discipline teaches you that success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. You might fall, you might slip, you might fail 100 times, but discipline whispers, get up and try again. It's the anchor that keeps you grounded when your emotions want to drift. It's the quiet reminder that dreams are built in repetition, not reaction. When you start to live with discipline, your confidence changes. You stop doubting yourself because you have proof of your own consistency. You've seen yourself show up when it was hard. You've seen yourself keep promises to yourself. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It's not built on compliments or likes. It's built on effort. It's knowing that you've trained your mind to obey your goals, not your impulses. That's the kind of power that can't be taken from you. Discipline also teaches you respect, not for others first, but for yourself. You start to value your time differently. You protect your peace. You stop letting people waste your energy because you've worked too hard to build it. You understand that every action, every habit, every choice is a seed, and discipline is the one watering it daily. Even when growth is invisible, you keep going because you know that consistency always pays its debts. The truth is, discipline doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. It trains you to face obstacles with focus, to handle setbacks with patience, to walk through storms with purpose. It's what separates those who wish from those who work. When discipline becomes your best friend, you realize that it's not about punishment, it's about protection. It protects your goals from distraction, your potential from waste, and your destiny from delay. Discipline teaches you the value of time, the cost of procrastination, and the reward of effort. It molds your character, sharpens your focus, and builds your resilience. It doesn't always feel good, but it always leaves you better. And over time, you start to crave it. The structure, the order, the sense of control it gives you, because you understand that success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who prepare, those who persist, those who practice discipline long enough for it to become a lifestyle. Faith over feelings, that's the difference between those who endure and those who quit. Feelings change with the weather. They rise and fall with circumstances. One moment you're confident, and the next you're full of doubt. One day you're motivated, and the next you can barely move. But faith, real, grounded, unshakable faith, stands still when everything else shifts. Faith doesn't ask for proof. It holds on to belief when there's nothing left to see. Faith is the quiet strength that whispers, keep walking, even when your heart is breaking, even when your mind is tired, even when the path ahead feels uncertain. Feelings will tell you to stop when it gets uncomfortable. They'll convince you that your efforts are wasted, that your dream is too far, that your struggle is too heavy. Feelings will pull you toward comfort because comfort feels safe. But faith doesn't live in comfort. Faith lives in the unknown. It steps into the dark believing there's ground beneath the next step. It doesn't wait for fear to leave. It moves despite it. Faith is the courage to act when logic says no, when people doubt you, when your emotions are screaming for relief. You can't build a strong life on the foundation of feelings. They are too fragile, too temporary, too easily swayed by external noise. But faith is rooted in something deeper. It's not based on what's happening. It's based on what you know inside your spirit. It's trusting that the process, no matter how painful, is still leading you somewhere. It's believing that there's purpose behind the delay, that there's meaning behind the struggle, that there's light waiting beyond the tunnel. Faith doesn't ask, how long will this take? It says, I'll endure however long it takes. When you live by feelings, you give power to your circumstances, but when you live by faith, you take that power back. You stop letting temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. You stop quitting because you're tired. You stop doubting because you don't see progress yet. You start walking with an inner conviction that says, even if it takes time, even if it hurts, I'll keep believing. That mindset transforms you. It gives you the kind of endurance that outlasts disappointment. Faith doesn't ignore reality. It simply refuses to be ruled by it. It doesn't pretend that pain doesn't exist. It just doesn't let pain decide the future. Feelings react to the present. Faith responds to the promise. Faith allows you to look beyond the moment and see potential. It's the reason some people rise after every fall while others stay down. Faith keeps your heart steady when emotions pull you apart. It gives you vision when sight is clouded. There will be days when your feelings scream louder than your faith. Days when your strength feels gone and all you want is to give up. But that's where faith proves itself. It's not for the easy seasons, it's for the storms. It's the anchor that holds when the winds of fear, anxiety, and doubt blow hard. It's the discipline of saying, I choose to trust, not because I feel like it, but because I know there's something greater working through this. Faith over feelings means doing what's right, even when it doesn't feel rewarding. It's staying consistent in the gym when motivation fades. It's keeping faith in your business when the numbers are low. It's loving people even when they don't return the kindness. It's showing up when no one claps. Faith isn't about emotion, it's about decision. It's deciding to stand firm, to stay steady, to believe beyond reason. The truth is your feelings will always fluctuate, but faith, once developed, becomes unmovable. It's built through repetition, through struggle, through constant surrender. You train it the same way you train your body, by using it, stretching it, testing it. The more you rely on faith, the stronger it becomes. You start to notice that fear has less control, that doubt speaks quieter, that hope speaks louder. Faith gives you the power to move forward when everything inside you wants to freeze. It teaches you patience in the process, humility in the waiting, and strength in the silence. Feelings may want instant results, but faith is willing to wait for what's worth it. Feelings may seek validation, but faith seeks truth. Feelings may crumble under pressure, but faith finds peace in persistence. When you start choosing faith over feelings, you stop being controlled by what's temporary and start living for what's eternal. The belief that no matter what happens, you are guided, supported, and destined to overcome. Purpose over popularity. This is one of the hardest truths to live by in a world where everyone seems to be performing for attention. Every scroll, every like, every share, they all whisper the same message: be seen, be noticed, be accepted. But purpose doesn't need an audience. It doesn't chase applause. Purpose grows in silence, in those moments when no one is watching and no one is clapping. Purpose is the quiet force that guides you when the lights are off, when no one cares, and when you're left to decide whether to keep going or give up. Popularity is loud. It demands validation. Purpose is calm. It requires conviction. When you choose purpose, you trade in the comfort of approval for the courage to walk alone. You stop asking, do they like me, and start asking, am I doing what I'm meant to do? You stop following trends and start following truth. The journey of purpose will often strip you of the crowd because it's meant to reveal your calling. The path of popularity is filled with noise, but the path of purpose is filled with meaning. When you operate from purpose, your decisions begin to shift. You stop chasing shortcuts because you understand that real impact takes time. You stop comparing your timeline to others because you realize that your assignment is unique. Purpose teaches patience. It trains you to build something that lasts longer than public attention. Most people want quick recognition, but quick recognition fades. Purpose, on the other hand, leaves a legacy. It's not about how many people know your name. It's about how deeply your work touches lives long after you're gone. You must understand that the pursuit of popularity is seductive. It gives you temporary validation but permanent emptiness. It feeds your ego but starves your soul. Purpose does the opposite. It humbles your ego but feeds your spirit. It's not easy to choose purpose because it demands sacrifice. It asks you to turn down opportunities that look shiny but don't align with your calling. It asks you to walk away from people who distract you from your mission. It asks you to be misunderstood, criticized, and sometimes even rejected. But every time you say no to what doesn't serve your purpose, you make space for what does. The people who truly make an impact in this world are not the ones who seek attention. They are the ones who serve intention. They wake up every day asking, how can I use what I have to make something better? They're not chasing fame, they're chasing fulfillment. They understand that the deeper reward comes not from being admired, but from being aligned. They know that purpose-driven work doesn't always go viral, but it always goes deep. When you stop needing to be liked, you become unstoppable. When you stop waiting for recognition, you start producing results. When you stop performing for others, you begin creating for God, for truth, for legacy. The energy you used to spend trying to impress others can now be used to improve yourself. And that shift from performing to becoming is where real transformation happens. The moment you start living for purpose, you stop worrying about who's watching and start focusing on what's working. You start measuring your worth not by followers, but by faithfulness. You start realizing that popularity fades when the crowd moves on, but purpose sustains when life tests your endurance. And the beauty of purpose is that it doesn't just change your life. It changes everyone your life touches. Because purpose multiplies, popularity only distracts. You'll find that once you begin walking in your purpose, the right people will find you. Not because you sought them out, but because your light drew them in. Purpose doesn't chase, it attracts. It builds silently and shines naturally. So, while the world is busy shouting, "Look at me," purpose whispers, "Remember why you started."